Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is super important to do before we head to camp, so I really appreciate you guys showing up. Parents, students, thank you for coming. This just helps us all get on the same page and just make sure that we have an amazing time at camp. We realize that it is a massive trip that we're doing, and so just getting everybody in the same room so that you can hear from me and hear our vision for the trip, the things that we expect on the trip, just so that you guys feel prepared to send your student on the trip, and for us to communicate to your students as well, hey, these are the expectations and the things that we look for from your kid during the trip. And it helps us all get on the same page so that hopefully when you drop your kid off either this Sunday morning or the following week, you feel safe and confident that your kid's going to have an amazing time and that we have our act together and your kid's going to be safe and have a great week at camp. So I appreciate you guys being here. We're going to try to keep this as quick and efficient as possible. It is a lot of information, so I apologize right from the start if I'm just up here just giving you tons and tons and tons of information. Feel free, if you have any questions at all afterwards, to stick around, talk to me, ask your questions. I would love to answer anything that might come up. And if you think of something later on, feel free to email me, call me, and ask away, because that is what we're here for, to help you guys get all your questions answered and to feel confident sending your kid on this trip. So I'm Gordy. I'm the junior high pastor here, and if you have never sent your kid on a Whitewater trip before, here's a little bit about Whitewater. We have been doing, as North Coast Campus, the Whitewater trip for probably 30 years now. A long time we have been doing this trip. It is now spread from not only the Vista campus to almost all the off-site North Coast campuses send their junior high groups and even a couple high school groups to Whitewater during the summer. It is amazing camp. I have been 10 times now, and every single time it is just fantastic. We have so much fun, and I truly believe it is a unique trip in the sense of it's not very often that you get to take kids away and go on a whitewater rafting trip and experience Jesus at the same exact time. So it is truly an amazing time, and I'm excited that all of you signed your kids up to go on this trip, because we're going to have a fantastic time and just have a whole lot of fun doing it. And so, like I said, I have been 10 times now to Whitewater. Trav, the old junior high pastor who was here for 26 years, he is also going on the 7th grade week of Whitewater. So he will be there as well. And he's been over 20 times to Whitewater. So he will be on that trip as well. Some other people to help you know that there is responsible, mature adults on this trip. We have our head of facilities here at the Vista campus. His name is Greg Mattis. He has been 18 times to Whitewater, and he will be going the 8th grade week with us. Taylor Robinson, our associate pastor here, he has been in 12 to 14 range times to Whitewater. He's going on both trips. I'm going on both trips. We have a few parents going on the trips. We have other staff members going on the trips. Damian Easter, our Jordan pastor, he's going on the trip 8th grade week as our camp speaker. So that's pretty exciting. So we just have tons and tons of people that have gone on these trips over and over and over again. On Sunday, we get together as a group of drivers and a group of leaders, and we go over even in more detail the trip so that we're all on the same page. And it was the first time for me, because I've only been on the job here at the Vista campus for about a month now. It was the first time for me to get in that room and to see all the adults that have gone on this trip for so many years and to hear the amount of times that so many of them had been on this trip. And it was just amazing for me to be like, wow, all right, if I'm nervous to go on this trip, like I feel safe and confident now with the amount of people that are like, yeah, I've been 15 times, I've been 18 times, Trav's been over 20 times. And just for you guys to know that we have an amazing group of adults and leaders that have been countless amounts of times that are going on this trip. So that is just to help you guys know who are the adults, who are the drivers, who are the people going on this trip, and just to put you hopefully at ease knowing that. All right, and so we're going to jump into this first packet that you received when you came in, and this is number one for you students in the room. All right, students, this is what we expect from you while we're on this trip, okay? Here's the guidelines. Here's the things that we want you to know while we're on this trip so that you can have a great time, so that you can stay safe. And then parents, this is for you to also listen to go, okay, this is what is expected of my child while we are on this trip, okay? And so a huge part of this trip takes place on the road while we are in the vans, okay? We have to drive almost all the way to Oregon to get to the Klamath River. And And so a lot of this is spent in vans. And so here's what we expect from you students while we're in the vans, okay? Number one, always wear your seatbelt, okay? This might seem obvious, but for junior hires, it not always is, okay? Sometimes in a giant van, I'll turn around and kids will have switched rows, kids will be unbuckled, and students, please wear your seatbelt, okay? Basically, all the rules of the road, the law, we expect you to follow that in the vans from not only our drivers, but also the passengers in the van. So students, wear your seatbelts, okay? Number two, help your driver and co-pilot by doing whatever they tell you. Every van, every vehicle that we have is going to have at least 2 adults in it, okay? You have a driver and you have a co-pilot. We do this because the responsibility of the driver is to drive the vehicle, keep their eyes on the road, all right? Figure out where they're going, drive safely. But it can be hard to do that if you have a car full of junior high students having a great time, all excited to go to camp. And so we put another adult in there who's the co-pilot, and their job is to simply engage with the students, make sure the students are doing okay, help the driver navigate wherever they need to go, to make sure that there is 2 adults in that car working together so that all the responsibility is not just on the driver. A lot of our vehicles actually have more than 2 adults in them, but we're at least having 2 adults in every car, all right? So students, your driver and your co-pilot, they are there to, number one, help you have an amazing drive, okay? But number two, to get you there and back safely, okay? So when your driver or co-pilot asks you to do anything in that car, listen to them, okay? It is a big drive for them, and we want them to not get stressed out. We want them to be having a good time as well. And so you can do that by just whatever they say, listen to them. They're not there to make your drive terrible. They're not there to ruin your experience. They're there to actually make your trip better and to let you have an amazing time, but also they care about your safety, okay? So anytime an adult in your vehicle asks you to do something, all right, be respectful, be nice, do whatever they tell you to do, okay? Next thing, go to the bathroom when we make scheduled stops. If you don't have to go, try, okay? Students, this is a long drive. We do not want to have to stop every 15 minutes, okay? All right? And what happens is with junior hires, they get to their whatever stop we do, and they buy an energy drink, and they chug it really quickly, and then they have to go to the bathroom within like 10 minutes, okay? Go to the bathroom at every stop, all right? Please, all right? It helps us out a ton. It might seem obvious, but it isn't always obvious, okay? So please go to the bathroom at every stop, even if you don't think you have to go. Just go try, all right? And normally wait till the end of the stop to use that bathroom, okay? Don't go at the very beginning and then have an hour-long stop and then don't go again, okay? Wait till the very end, run to the bathroom, and then get back in the car, okay? Always wait for an adult to give an okay before you get out of the van when we stop, all right? This is important, guys, all right? When we get to our stops, we have scheduled stops along the way, and when we get to those stops, what's going to happen is myself or Trav or Taylor or Shara in the lead vehicle is going to radio out, because we have radios in the cars to communicate to all the vehicles. We're going to radio out and say, okay, hey, this is how long we have for this stop. Here are the required stops or the required restaurants for you to go to, okay? We're not going to just let you get out of the car and go wherever you want. We're going to say, hey, these are the 3 restaurants or stores that you can go to, all right? And so, students, when we pull into a lot, all right, don't just all jump out of the car and disperse and go wherever you want, okay? Wait until your co-pilot says, all right, listen up, van, here is how long you have, here's what time you need to be back, and here are the places that you are allowed to go, okay? So wait until your co-pilot communicates that information before you get out of the car, all right? And just so you as parents know, when we do those stops, we require that they go places with an adult in their group, okay? And so the adults, the driver, the co-pilot, they're not just kicking the kids out and then going to their separate spot to go get lunch as much as they might want to, all right? We're saying, hey, go with students places so that students have adult supervision in every spot that they go to. And students, all right, know this, all right? Don't just try to jump out of the car and ditch your adults and go where you want, okay? Stay with adults. Don't go anywhere by yourself. Stay together as a group, all right? Normally the co-pilot and the driver will be like, hey, where do we want to go? And you guys will kind of stick together and go to those spots together, okay? Next, van assignments will be assigned according to small groups. No changes allowed. All right, we do everything we possibly can to keep you together with your friends, with your small group, with the people that you will have the most amount of fun with in your car. All right, we want you to enjoy the car ride, the van ride. But when we say no changes allowed, we've already done that ahead of time to try our very best to give you an amazing experience. And so what we don't want is you just switching vans all over the place. Because for us as co-pilots, when kids get back in the car, they're going to have their list, they're going to do their head count, they're going to want to make sure all of their students are in that car. And if you guys start switching cars on us, all of a sudden that creates a giant problem because we go, wait, I don't recognize this kid. Where did my other student go? And now kids are all over the place, and it creates a giant headache with us there, okay? So stay with your van, stay in the van assignments, don't switch around on us. We don't want any changes so that way we can know where all of our students are at and that everybody is in the cars that they belong to be in, okay? At stops, like I said, we make sure that you go to the required places, ask permission to go to a certain place, make sure your co-pilot, your driver say that is okay. Never go anywhere alone or without an adult, okay? Students, your adult and drivers, they're not going to be like right next to you the whole time when they're in that store and restaurant, okay? They're just there to make sure that they know where you are, okay? They're going to give you your space, so you don't have to try to ditch them, all right? But don't go anywhere without an adult or by yourself, okay? Be kind to each other and your drivers and leaders. This one is massive, all right? Be nice to each other on the drive, all right? Towards the end of camp, people can start to get grumpy. People can start to get tired. People can start to just be really excited to get home, all right? Let's do our best to be kind and nice to each other and to get along, okay? Everybody paid a lot of money to be on this trip, and the number one way I've seen people's trips get ruined it's just because people start to not be so nice to each other, okay? People start to be sassy to each other. People start to make jokes at other people's expense, okay? And just let's be kind. Let's be nice. Let's realize we are one church family here, and we're just trying to get along and to make sure everybody's having a great time and to not be mean to each other, okay? So just be kind. And then last, stay off your phones, okay? We don't require students to leave their phones at home, all right, because we do realize it's a long trip, and for a lot of you parents in this room, it gives you comfort being able to get in contact with your child on the drive, and that's totally okay, all right? We're totally fine if you want your kid to bring their phone on the trip so that you can communicate with them on the drive, all right? But what we do want from the students is to spend time with the people in their van and to spend time with their small group and their leaders, and so what we are going to ask probably is that for the majority of the drive, you stay off your phones, and so that you engage with the people in the car to kind of unplug for the week, and so that you can build those relationships and experience camp at its fullest instead of being on your phones, okay? So that's kind of our phone policy. We're not going to require them to be turned in or left at home. If you would like your kid to leave their phone at home, that is totally fine, and you make that call as a parent, and that's great, but we're not going to require that. We're just going to kind of ask that they stay off of them for the majority of the drive. So that is in the vans. When we arrive at the campsite, all right, if you don't know about Whitewater, here's kind of the way our campsite works, okay? It's just this beautiful place right on the Klamath River, but we sleep out under the stars, okay? And so when we pull in, all right, what tends to happen is the junior hires have been in the car for 2 days now. They're super excited. It's hot. They see the river. They're ready to go, all right? Students, don't immediately drop your stuff in the parking lot and sprint to the river, okay? We need to set up camp first, all right? And so when we arrive at the campsite, help unload and set up camp before doing anything else. It doesn't really take that much to set up camp. It's not going to take forever, but we're going to have to unload the trailer first. You're going to have to find your stuff first. You're going to have to carry that to your sleeping area and set up a little bit, all right? And so don't just immediately run and jump in the water, okay? Because also we have to make sure that there's adults there watching the river before anybody goes in, okay? We don't want you to run down there, jump in the river, and have no adult supervision because all the adults are setting up camp, okay? So help unload and set up first, all right? There are designated separate guys and girls sleeping areas. Stay out of the areas where you don't belong, all right? Guys, you're going to know where to sleep. Girls, you're going to know where to sleep. Stay in those areas. Stay out of the other areas, okay? They're separated from each other. They're very obvious, okay? Just go where you're supposed to be. Stay out of the areas you're not supposed to be, okay? And if you do that, we won't have any problems, all right? Wait for instructions to be given by Gordy or another JH78 staff member before free time. This kind of has to do with the water thing. Before you run and jump in the river, wait till instructions are given. Wait till you're given the go-ahead before you go do that, okay? Wait for instructions. At Paradise Point, that's the place that we stay. That's what it's called. Okay, here's kind of what each day looks like. Mornings will consist of a Devo, worship, small groups, and solo time. Okay, so in the mornings, kids will wake up, they'll have breakfast. We'll do a short little morning, almost chapel type thing with worship, with a Devo from one of our staff members, small groups, solo time, and then we'll get ready to raft for the day. Evenings will consist of games, worship, a teaching. If it's the 7th grade week, Travis is our speaker for that week. And then if it's 8th grade week, Damien is our speaker for that week. So evenings, we'll spend time in worship, playing some games, teaching, and just having a great time. All day long, we basically raft, okay? We do rafting activities during the day. You must be at every meal and every meeting, okay? I know camp can be long. Sometimes you don't feel hungry. Sometimes you want to just go lay down and take a nap. All right, we want you to be at every meal and every meeting just so that we know where you are. And if you have something medical going on, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's a little bit different. Then talk to a small group leader or a staff member, and we will make sure that you are in contact with our medic and we get you the help you need. But for the most part, be at every meeting, be at every meal, okay? Stay hydrated and wear sunscreen, all right? Junior hires, you don't always remember to do this, okay? So junior hires, we're going to be on you all the time. Make sure you wear sunscreen. Make sure you drink your water, okay? It seems obvious, but when you're having a great time and when you're hanging out with your friends, all of a sudden you get like halfway through the day and you realize, I haven't had any water yet. I don't even know where my water bottle is, okay? I forgot to put sunscreen on. We will have sunscreen with us as leaders. We will, if a student in here, if you forget your sunscreen, talk to a leader. We will gladly share. All right, water bottles, we will be constantly reminding, but just right off the bat, remember to put sunscreen on, remember to drink water, okay? No swimming without water shoes or adult supervision. I already talked about the adult supervision part. Water shoes, we'll go over it in the packing list, but when you go in the water, we require you to wear shoes because it's not the beach where the sand is great and soft. You walk into the river and all of a sudden there's rocks, there's sharp sticks, it's an uneven surface. And what happens is you have been in for 3 minutes and you step on a sharp stick and now your foot hurts and the rest of your week you're hobbling around because you didn't wear your shoes in the water, okay? And so wear some form of shoes that you can wear in the water. They have to be closed-toed. We'll go over that a little bit more in our packing list, okay? Stay in camp. There's not really anything around camp, all right? So if you wander out of camp, there's nothing cool to find except for more nature, all right? Stay in camp, all right? It's a very large camp. You don't have, it's not like restraining. There's plenty of space. You have access to the river, so stay in camp. Be respectful of the nature in camp. It's a beautiful place, and North Coast goes week after week after week. So students, let's treat it well. Let's be respectful of it, okay? Let's keep it beautiful and clean, and let's leave it as nice as we found it so that when we leave camp, the next group that comes in doesn't have to come into somebody else's trash or a camp that's messed up. And we have a very good relationship with Whitewater, and so we can keep that by just being nice to their camp because it's beautiful and it's amazing, and we want to keep using it, all right? No pranks or jokes at the expense of others while you're at camp. Like I said earlier, let's be nice to everybody, all right? You might think you're the funniest person in the world, and I think you have the greatest prank ever, but let's not do it at camp. Let's not ruin somebody else's trip, okay? Let's be nice. Let's be kind. Let's have a good time. There's plenty of other ways to have fun than pulling pranks and jokes on somebody else's expense, okay? And so we're not going to allow that. If we see that going on, we're going to quickly shut it down, and I don't think anyone here wants to get in trouble. So let's not pull pranks. Let's be nice to everybody, okay? Baptisms will be taking place the 8th grade week, all right? So if you are in 8th grade, we will be offering baptisms that week of camp, and we ask that if you're an 8th grade parent, you have that conversation with your student ahead of camp, all right? We don't want to baptize a kid and have their parent not know about it, and then their kid gets back from camp and the parent is really bummed because they wanted to be at their kid's baptism. And we totally understand that, and we want to be on the same page with you. So that's why we talk about it in this meeting, so that you know that it's a potential thing that might take place. And if you don't care and your kid, while they're at camp, feels they want to get baptized, let your student know that and say, hey, if you feel this is something you want to do when you're at camp, we totally support it. If you want to go, no, I would rather be there, all right, we offer baptisms all the time time here on the Vista campus, and you can talk to your kid about that and say, hey, I would rather be at that baptism, so could you wait until you get home if you feel while you're at camp that you want to get baptized? But that's a conversation between you and your student, and we want to respect that. And so when we're at camp, if a student goes, I don't know if we have my parents' permission, we will do our best to get in contact with you to ask, but sometimes that doesn't always work out. And so we want that conversation to be had before camp. We will be taking pictures and videoing the baptism, if that helps you at all, and you go, okay, if I can get a video and photos of my child being baptized, then I'm totally okay with it. That is just another detail there. Discipline. Like I said, respect and obey all leaders. This really, we never expect this to happen, but in the absolute worst case scenario, we will fly students home. There's an airport in Medford, Oregon that's like 2.5, 3 hours away. And in the worst scenario, we would drive your kid there and get them a ticket and put them on a plane and then send you the bill later, all right? But we don't expect that to happen, all right? If everybody knows ahead of time, like, you know your kid, we expect that is the absolute worst case scenario. But it is an option on the table. So if you're sitting here and you know your child and you're like all of a sudden worried about that, maybe just have a conversation with them ahead of time. I don't really expect that conversation to have to take place between any of you and your kid, but it is something that we have to talk about in this meeting. So that is discipline. On the river, flip to the next page really quick. When we are out on the river, we spend the majority of our day rafting, and it's amazing. It's super fun. Once we're on the river, all of a sudden, I am not the authority anymore. The rest of the JH7H8 staff is not authority anymore. Small group leaders aren't authority anymore. It is the rafting guides. Okay, we do this through a professional company. There's a guide in every single raft, and so they are the ones to listen to, students. Okay, so when you get on your raft, all right, listen to the guide. If you have a question, ask the guide. If your guide tells you to do something and your small group leader has told you to do something different, listen to the guide, okay? They are the professionals. They're the ones that know the river. They're the ones that know where you can jump in, where you can't, all right? All of that stuff. So listen to the guide. They know best, all right? Every day we'll do rafting assignments, all right? So listen to those. Be ready for those each day. And then keep your life vest on at all times, okay? Everybody does, all right? It's not going to be that hard to do it. It's not that big of a problem to wear a life vest, but just keep it on at all times, all right, so that you're safe out on the river, all right? And if you do that, you'll have an amazing time, okay? Have a question or something's wrong, check with your small group leader first, okay? If your small group leader can't help or you can't find them, check with your mid-group director. For those of you that are in 7th grade girl, that's Macy. 7th grade boy, that's DJ. If you're an 8th grade girl, that's Kate. 8th grade boy, that's James. If it's a medical thing, check with the medic. Each trip will have a medic there, all right? And it'll be very obvious where you can find them. We will announce where that medic spot is. And if you have a medical issue, go talk to the medic. They would love to help you with that. And then if for some reason none of those give you the answer you need, you can check with myself. You will check with Taylor Robinson, who's going to be on both trips. If you're on the 8th grade week, you can check with Shara. And then if, like I said, if it's a problem on the river, talk to the guides about it. They are the pros, all right? Check-in process on day 1. Here's what the check-in process is going to look like. Arrive at the church at 7 a.m. for both trips. Same time, 7 a.m. at the church. We will be meeting over by the junior high room, but just to the right where the basketball court and volleyball court is over there. Okay, you'll pull in, you'll see the trailers, you'll see the vans. Check in there at 7 a.m. If you come earlier than 7 a.m., we're probably not going to be set up yet. We're not going to be quite ready for you. So just know that if you show up a little bit earlier than 7, you might stand around a little bit and wait for us to start checking people in. So just know that. But 7 a.m. is the time to shoot for. Do your best not to be late because we won't leave until everybody's checked in. And so we'll be standing around waiting. So try to be on time at 7 a.m. When you get there, you will go to the trailers, okay? There will be a boys' luggage trailer, a girls' luggage trailer. You'll throw your stuff in the trailer. You will look on the side of the trailer. There will be the van assignments, all right? You will look, see what van you're in. You will know that. Then you will go check in at the check-in tables, and then you'll probably put your carry-on stuff in the van, and then we'll hang out, and we'll get excited because we'll be leaving soon for camp, all right? That is how check-in works. Camp updates. Here's the info here. You can text and get text updates throughout the week. You can also follow along on our Instagram and see pictures, see our posts, see what's been going on at camp so that you can stay updated. The text update will help because on our way home, we'll be able to tell you, hey, this is our ETA back at the church, because it's not, we have a time we shoot for, but with LA traffic coming home, that's not always what works out, okay? So text updates will help so that you know, hey, this is what time my kid is going to be arriving home. This is what time I can plan for. So that will help you with that. Before the trip, a lot of you figured this out on your way in. Make sure all payments are made. Make sure your waivers are completed. And then please join us in praying over this trip before we leave, while we're there, and then even afterwards for all the decisions that were made, the kids that were baptized, and all of that. So that is what you can do before the trip. On here also is an itinerary for each week. We don't have to go through this in huge detail, but this is here for you if you would like to go through this. The way it works is we drive, we spend the night at a church. The next day we end up at camp. If it's 7th grade week, we raft for 3 days. If it is 8th grade week, we raft for 3 days. And then on the 4th day, we do something called Clear Creek, which is this amazing, beautiful spot down the road that we'll drive to, and we'll spend the day swimming there, jumping off some rocks, and having a good time at the place called Clear Creek. And then on the same thing on the way back, we drive to a church, spend the night, and then end up back here at North Coast. All right, so that is the guidelines and info for the trip. Now we will briefly go over the packing list for you so that you can know that information. A lot of it is self-explanatory, but I will go over this briefly for you. So every student can bring a medium-sized suitcase to pack all their stuff in, and then they will bring a carry-on type bag, like a backpack or something of that sort, so that they can take it with them in the van, okay? And make sure in that carry-on backpack they have their spending money, because that is the worst when it gets packed in the trailer and a kid realizes, oh man, I don't have my money all day long. Okay, so make sure that they get their spending money in their carry-on bag, as well as their snacks, their water, anything else that they're going to need throughout the drive so that it's not buried in a trailer. Okay, Bible, pen, sleeping bag. The smaller you can pack that thing up, the better. So if it can tie up tightly, if it's got a bag to go in, that is very helpful for us. No air mattresses, no cots. If you have small little sleeping, like camping mats, the ones that are super small can be rolled up super tight to just roll out with your sleeping bag. We do allow that, but the big stuff like air mattresses and cots take up too much space. So find the small, easily packed things. Pillow. This is important. Sturdy plastic knife, fork, and spoon, and a plastic plate, and a plastic cup, because the meals. So the staff at Whitewater will make the meals for us, and then your kid will grab all of their stuff, go get their food, wash off their utensils, and then take them back to their spot with them, and then use them the next day. Okay? And so make sure they have that stuff. Make sure they write their name on that stuff so they don't get it mixed up with somebody else's, so that they have things to eat with at each meal. Okay? Because they will use it at every single meal, wash it, and then bring it back for the next meal. So make sure they have that stuff. A hydro flask style water bottle that they can take rafting with them. And then a carabiner that they can attach to it so they can attach it to the raft so that it doesn't fall out and get lost on the river. A hydro flask works. If you're worried that they might lose that, and those are kind of expensive, you want to bring a cheaper option, that is fine as well, but just something that they can fill with water and take on the raft with them. Money for the road. On the road, we will stop at meal stops. They will need money for those meals. And then you as a parent, just a trick that might help is talk through your kid how much money they have at each stop, because time and time again, you see junior hires experience freedom with money for the first time, and all of a sudden they get to like the dinner stop on the second day of driving, and they're like, where did all my money go? Like, what are you talking about, all right? Like, you had plenty of money, and then, I kid you not, I've had a kid walk into a Walmart and walk back out with a $60 video game, and I was like, what are you doing? No, take that back, all right? That was all of your meal money, all right? That's junior hires, okay? And junior hires, that was not a piece of advice for you, okay? Don't do that. Use your money wisely. So parents, if you don't know if your kid can handle having that much money, all right, explain to them, this is how much you have for each meal, and So hopefully they can get through the trip and still have money at the end, okay? That's money. Mosquito repellent and sunblock and chapstick, all very helpful things. There is mosquitoes there, helpful if your kid has that stuff. Sunscreen is very important. Chapstick helps as well because we're outdoors. And, sometimes that stuff happens and this stuff helps a lot with that stuff, okay? Swimsuit, obviously, make sure you have that. Girls, modest one-piece swimsuit. It is helpful to have board shorts rafting, even if you're a girl, because the sides of the raft are hot and rubber, and so it's not the easiest thing in the world. So shorts help with that. Boys, make sure there's a drawstring and you can tie your shorts tightly, okay? There is a flowing current. Nobody enjoys losing their swim trunks in the river, okay? And so let's make sure that you can tie it tightly so that it saves everybody from that experience, okay? And so tying them tightly is very, very helpful. 2 towels, one for a shower, one for swimming is helpful. Most junior hires don't even care about that, but you as a parent might. And so, but I expect to get back and realize that 1 towel hasn't even been touched, okay? That might happen, all right? Toothbrush, toothpaste, toiletries, flashlight helps at nighttime. It does get pretty dark there. A hat to wear rafting when you're in the sun, but maybe one that you don't care a whole lot about in case you lose it while rafting would be very helpful. Baby wipes, if you want to have those to help wipe down because it's dusty and dirty there. Sandals to wear around camp. Pair of shoes to travel in, and then the old pair of shoes to wear rafting, okay? Just something that is closed-toed and that stays on your feet and can be secured tightly, okay? A lot of times water shoes, if you can't tie them or secure them tightly, they might get washed off in the river, okay? So an old pair of tennis shoes that you can tie tightly really works and is great, but if you have other water shoes that are closed-toed, all right, that you can secure tightly to your feet, those are fine as well, okay? So unfortunately, that means like no Chacos, Tevas, anything like that, okay, because those are not closed-toed. So something that protects the toes, the whole foot, that is secured tightly so that it doesn't get washed off. Old socks can help. This isn't a must, but sometimes if you're wearing an old pair of Vans or an old pair of sneakers, like you can get blisters if you don't have socks on there. So if you want to just old socks that you can wear with them, that is something that you can do. Optional stuff, water-resistant camera, a rash guard or similar style of shirt to wear rafting to help prevent sunburn is very useful. I highly recommend that. Sunglasses that you're willing to potentially lose. There's a Dollar Tree at our last stop before we head to camp if you want to just go in there and buy cheap sunglasses. That is great. Extra spending money for snacks and other types of things that's outside of your meals. That's great. Group games to play while you're in the vans. It's not video games. It's group games that you can play while you're driving to bond together as a group. That's great. If your kid struggles with car sickness, you can send them with stuff for that. I already talked about the carabiner to be clipped on the raft, and then candy and snacks, more than helpful, okay, to use during the van ride to fill up on sugar. Things not to bring, tents. Don't bring a tent. We're sleeping under the stars. Electronics. You don't need to bring a video game. You don't need to bring an iPad. You don't need to bring any of that stuff. We will allow a cell phone. Just encourage you to stay off of it for the most part. No other electronics. Vape pens, any kind of weapon, lighters. We don't need water toys. We'll supply plenty of fun for the river, so you don't need to bring your own stuff. A bad attitude, obviously. Okay, come excited and ready to go. And then anything you can't or are not willing to replace, okay? We are camping. We are in nature. We are on the river, okay? So if you bring your favorite shoes or your favorite shirt or anything along those lines of like, man, I would be devastated if this got dirty, if this got washed away, don't bring it. Bring something that you aren't that attached to that you can replace easily because we are camping and it's nature and that stuff can happen, okay? So that is the packing list. A few other random things to go over. Medication info, we don't require you to turn in medication when you check your student in, but if there is something that you would like us to be in charge of and not trust your kid having to remember to do that, you are more than welcome to let us know and to give us that stuff, but we don't require it when the kid checks in, okay? So if you go, I trust my student with the ability to handle this and to use it, that's fine. But if you would like us to be in charge of that, we are more than helpful to partner with our medic and our staff to be able to do that for your student. Other things, we have Macy. She's in the back over there. If you have a lady student and you have questions related to lady things that you would like to talk to Macy about, if you go, this might be something that my daughter deals with on the trip, Macy's in the back. She would love to help you with that and to talk through that with you as well. Other than that, we are super excited for an amazing week at camp, and we're just excited because I truly believe. What are you waving your phone at me? Is it a text message for me? Hold on. Macy's in the back. Oh, would you like me to emphasize filling out the medical form? Got updates from the back. Macy would like everyone to know, fill out the medical form. Link is in the email. Link in the email is disabled, but they can get to the form through our website, jh78.org, all right? Very helpful. Don't go to the email. The link is disabled, but you can go to our website, jh78.org. Thank you, Macy. Very helpful. Round of applause for Macy. Other than that, I will be here. If you have more questions or things you want to talk through, I will hang out up here. Feel free to stick around. Ask me whatever you want to ask me. If you got places to go, feel free to go. All right? But I'm going to pray over the trip, and then you guys can stick around or head out, whatever you'd like. All right? So let's pray. God, we thank you so much for summer camp coming up and the ability that we have to get to do these trips. We just ask first and foremost, God, that you be a part of it, though. We invite you into every single piece, to the drive, to the time at camp, the rafting, the worship, the sermons, the small groups. We just ask for you to be a part of it. We pray for safety, that you keep everyone safe on this trip, that we just have an amazing, amazing experience, and kids can just have memories that last with them for a lifetime, that they can look back on this trip and see where you moved in their life. They can see where they made changes, that they grew closer to you, whether it was a first-time decision or simply just moving their faith in the right direction. Lord, we ask that you be a part of it. God, we're excited to see what these weeks have, and we just can't wait to let you be a part of the experience. Lord, we love you. In your name we pray. Amen.